This is the best of the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugatz podcast.
We are in a very perilous spot with our radio show. We are entering an area where we need to tread lightly. It appears that Stephen A. Smith, who is joining us at 12:15 Eastern, the greatest to ever do it in the history of gasbaggery, it appears he doesn't trust our show.
He definitely does not trust our show. There's no appears he doesn't trust our show. When we want Stephen A. on the show, he responds to me very, very quickly. So they always ask me, hey, can you text Stephen A.? And for years, I texted Stephen A., and he would just say, sure, anything for Le Batard. And lately, the last few times I've asked him, he either won't respond or when he does respond, well, what do you guys want to talk about?
Yeah, there's some questions about what we want to talk about because we've been wasting his time is part of the reason. And I remember where this started. We called him one time and he was just in the barber chair. You remember this? He was in the barber chair and we were having a conversation about ego. We were talking to him about ego. And he was telling us he's the best to ever do it and that it wasn't awkward at all to be getting a haircut while talking to us, that all of the people in the barbershop wanted to hear his opinions. So,
of course,
he handled that in a way that was much more confident than I would have handled it, right? And so that's why it's one of the many reasons he's the best to ever do it.
Yes. And he was giving those opinions whether he was on the phone with us or not, right? They were going to get their show, right?
Everyone was going to get their opinion. Stephen A., do you feel like there is, Guillermo, put this on the poll. Is there quiet time and a meditation room in Stephen A. Smith's life?
You kidding me?
Right? It's just going from place to place, giving your opinion on sports because everybody wants it, right?
Yes. Happily doing it, by the way. Yes.
Well, the thing that I want to talk about today, as LeBron is being reported to be bothered that the Cavs did not acquire Paul George or Eric Bledsoe, that's got to be in the time capsule, right? LeBron reportedly bothered by moves not made, for sure. That's something in the time capsule, I got to think. Yeah.
He's Bledsoe's agent.
I know. He's Bledsoe's agent, and he's mad that they didn't make a move on Bledsoe. For sure, that's in the time capsule. For those of you who don't know, we've got a time capsule. It was from many weeks ago. Guillermo wrote down all the things that will happen as LeBron enters his final season in Cleveland. These are things guaranteed to happen. They've been placed in a time capsule long ago.
Big day for us yesterday, Dan. Big day. Huge. Now, him complaining about the roster, earlier than anticipated, we saw this happening come playoff time when they were struggling. Yeah. But it was on there. Mm-hmm. Also, see the Gilbert news?
No way.
It's juicy.
Yeah. You don't know
what happened? No, I don't know what you're talking about.
This was a Stephen A. Smith report.
Wow. Yeah. Stephen A. reported that Dan Gilbert wants to sell the team.
You did not put that on.
You didn't see that report, Dan?
I didn't see that report.
Wow. Big
Wait
one.
a minute. Of course he wants to sell the team. You better sell it. Danny, you better hurry.
Yeah.
Danny, you better hurry.
Yep.
You want max value on that team. You better hurry your Quicken Loans butt up.
I have a theory on this. Tell me what you think. What if he's not interested in selling the team, but he knows LeBron doesn't want to play for him? So he says, I'm going to sell the team, LeBron. So LeBron says, you know what? Maybe I will stick around at home. Re-signs, then Gilbert, boom!
That would be a great move. I do believe, though, that this is a lot simpler than that. Dan Gilbert realizes his franchise loses $500 million in value the moment LeBron steps out of that contract.
Correction, the Stephen A. Smith report should not be treated as such. Wow. This is merely speculation from one Stephen A. Smith. It's not news-gathering Stephen A. Smith, but we all know how plugged in he is, and he wouldn't just make stuff
That's
up.
Right. That's one of the many reasons he's the greatest to ever do it. His information is also very solid. But before we get to any of that, though, because I do believe that the story in sports today is being missed. And one of the reasons that it's going to be missed is because it's very hard for us to talk about the economics of this in a way that's intelligent. But the NBA being a leader on wanting to get sports gambling legalized and furthermore wanting to change the laws in a way that pays the NBA 1% of all gambling money that is wagered on basketball games is a seismic step in sports and the business of sports. And I'd like to talk to somebody. Allison, I don't know who you could get us today who can inform us a little more on this, but I'd like to understand what the NBA is doing here because this feels like it's so progressive as to be dangerous. and fun. And here's why I say that. Basketball has been gaining on football in terms of popularity. It is keeping young people. It's not losing mothers because of brain injuries. It doesn't have an image problem. Basketball used to have an image problem and has gone to great lengths to correct that image problem of a drug-addled black league unpalatable to white people. That's a problem the NBA has had that it has corrected. And now the new generation of the NBA is a fairly pure thing where the things that get the news attention aren't cocaine. They're not things with stigma. There is this guy with the power being personally petty to this guy with the power. It's benign, gossipy high school stuff that customers love.
Right. That resonates with everyone. You're right. People love that stuff.
And so now the progressive commissioner of that league is telling you, we want to bypass all the stigmas. And what he's just done with gambling is the equivalent to me of if he had announced today, our league will allow marijuana smoking today, right now. Mm-hmm. And we want a percentage. We want a tax on the profits.
Right.
We want a tax that our players have to pay to us when they smoke marijuana.
Right. Yes.
Like that's what you're doing with this stigma. Gambling is still something that has a stigma in America, but Adam Silver is betting that it's got the same stigma as marijuana, which is a stigma that's about to fall.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, they're on the forefront of this. They are spearheading. They haven't done anything yet. They're trying to do something. But what they want, just so the audience knows, is they want 1% of every bet made on NBA
And so
games.
That's the crazy part of this Windhorse story to me. That it's not just that the NBA wants in on gambling, which what I thought originally was, well, they want some of the FanDuel money. They just want to have some of these fantasy sports dollars. No. They want to be at the forefront of changing laws in this country that makes gambling less stigmatized, and they want to do so in a way that gets them 1%, which would be a giant windfall of money.
Yes.
For everyone in basketball. It is so smart to try and change the stigma and then try and cash in on it.
I believe they already have an equity stake in FanDuel. That was part of the 4 or 5 year deal that FanDuel signed. I'm not certain with DraftKings, but I'm pretty certain they have an equity stake in FanDuel. Listen, I think it's exciting. I think it's smart. It's obviously going to bring a lot of revenue. What are your concerns on the other side of that?
A lot of them, journalistically, a ton of them. The idea of this as business when you're forgetting that Tim Donaghy was fixing games not that long ago, and you could say it's a rogue NBA referee, but now you're inviting it. Now, if you are trying to change all of the laws where you are a pioneer on gambling, you are inviting questions on your integrity and the integrity of your games. And that is an invitation that no commissioner before Silver has been willing to make. And Silver's not only willing to make it, Silver's willing to sell his soul over it. Silver is telling you there is an untapped cash resource out here that's got to be in the billions, Stugotz. It's got to be, right? It's got to be. Once we start tapping into how much money is actually being bet, if the NBA can monitor how much money is actually being bet on NBA games because the NBA is leading the ability to do this on phones instead of casinos,
right.
You could do it at your home. You could do it in arena.
Yeah, kiosks in the arena, on your phone, on your smartphone, whatever. Brian Windhorst did the reporting on this. In 2016, Nevada had $4.5 billion in sports wagers, and they're expecting the number in 2017 to be over $5 billion.
But that's just Nevada.
For the first time. That's just Nevada.
That's Nevada, and that's just where it's legal.
Correct.
Like, they're trying to get it all legalized.
Everywhere
in the states, and then they want 1%, which doesn't sound like anything, but would run their business.
Yeah.
Yes or no, guys? Yes or no? I haven't done any of the math of this. If the NBA were to get 1% of gambling money on basketball, yes or no, it would pay everybody's salaries. Because I think it would. I think they would have their anything that they have in terms of cost management problems could be solved by this 1% of money.
I think you're right. I don't know how much of the $4.5 billion in Vegas was bet on the NBA. I'm guessing a majority went to the NFL.
Most
right?
football, probably soccer too up there.
Right, but now you're legalizing it everywhere. And so like in states in New York, California, states like that, of course it's going to be lucrative for the NBA.
What I'm saying is you are presently in the middle of possibly a seismic shift in the way that you consume your sports. And so seismic, at least in part, because basketball is willing to be a leader on it. When, in God's name, do you ever see a sports franchise or sports entity so interested in money that they want to change America's laws in order to get it?
You don't.
All right, you show me all the times that you've seen that happen. And what I'm saying is this is a difficult story to talk about because there are a lot of potential traps here. I would love to talk to Silver about this, like how well he's thought some of this stuff through, because I've got to believe that with this amount of untapped money that they have done extraordinary spending on research to see how it is that they could get this done.
In that sense, maybe Major League Baseball and the antitrust laws, where they're a government-approved monopoly over an entire sport.
I'm telling you that the ramifications on something like this is, if basketball is able to do this, this is how basketball topples football in this country in terms, like that's how it gets there with image, with popularity. If they're able to be a law-changing sports entity that gives the customer more fun on something, basketball is basically trying during the 1920s to end prohibition. Just imagine that. That's what basketball is trying to do right now. We want to infiltrate with what is now illegal fun. We want to make that fun legal. I mean, the next step for Silver is going to be he's going to be seeing if he can make prostitution legal. Like, just life more fun for everybody. Life more fun in the dirty places. Brothels. We're only going to play in cities with brothels. I love the idea of Silver wanting to change all of America's laws.
Does this mean I have to pay taxes on my winnings?
What winnings?
Oh, yeah.
Hi, this is Papi. Do you know that my TV show Highly Questionable is not only on ESPN2 every day at 4:30 Eastern? It is also available as a podcast. You can listen or subscribe to the Highly Questionable podcast on ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Don Le Batard.
Do you refer to the yellow sauce at a hibachi restaurant as yum yum sauce? 57% of the audience said no.
Stugats.
Do you go ginger, 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 yum, 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 or yum, 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 yum? 38% of the audience said yum, 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 yum. So they get 3 yum, yum sauces. They ditch the ginger, get 2 yum, yums with an additional yum, yum. Second place was ginger, yum, yum. Fat Chris said earlier no one goes ginger, ginger. 18% of the audience goes ginger, ginger. And 18% of the audience also goes yum, 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 yum. How about that?
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Get the feeling of being rewarded with gold status at Shell. Join the Fuel Rewards program. Download the Fuel Rewards app. Join and start saving 5 cents a gallon today. Here's your SportsCenter update. Chipper Jones, Vlad Guerrero, Jim Thome, and Trevor Hoffman were elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame. The 4 will join Veterans Committee inductees Jack Morris and Alan Trammell. Michigan State University President Luana Simon has resigned following the sentencing of former university doctor Larry Nassar to 40 to 175 years for criminal sexual conduct. And finally, in an And Finally follow-up, the Crocodile Dundee reboot, starring Danny McBride as Crocodile Dundee's son, has been outed as a brilliant viral marketing campaign for Tourism Australia, with the payoff being a Super Bowl commercial. The trailers that popped up a few days ago were met with skepticism, with certain industry publications questioning how the shoot for the film could have flown under the radar. It's an interesting follow-up.
Yep.
For all the latest headlines and information, tune in the SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Guillermo, put this on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show, because Barry Bonds doesn't get into the Hall of Fame. And I'm just curious, Stugats, for everyone in our audience, which one would you rather have attached to your name? Hall of Famer, or just the quote, the phrase, the best I ever saw? Like, which one? Barry Bonds may not ever get into the Hall of Fame, and maybe he will, but if he doesn't, he still carries around the belief from a lot of people, me and Stugotz included,
Yep.
that's the best I've ever seen.
Yeah, but he doesn't have validation from his own sport. That kind of stinks.
But I'm saying, does it matter to you? Like, yes, I understand why you'd want the validation of your peers, and you would want an institution to legitimize what you did. But if I ask the audience right now, who's the best baseball player you ever saw? The answer that's coming back the most is Barry Bonds.
That should be the answer that comes back most, yes.
If it's a cut and dry conversation, absolutely, I would take the best ever. But that statement's always followed by a yeah, but.
Yeah, but I wonder whether Barry Bonds actually cares about that, given that he never failed a drug test.
Oh, I think he does.
Maybe he does, but I'm saying that if your confidence is real about what you did for a living, you don't need any institution to legitimize what you do. You don't even need any fans to say he's the best I ever saw. Barry Bonds can walk around knowing he's the best to ever do.
Oh, I have no doubt that he knows it. Barry Bonds is confident. He knows he's the greatest hitter of all time. It has to sting, though, when he's watching other guys get into the Hall of Fame where Barry either knows or thinks that they did the same as he did.
No, but to me, I would look at that and see the faultiness in the measurement system. I wouldn't make that about myself. I would say the voters there don't know what they're doing. They don't know how polluted my sport was, and they don't know that is stuff that I did because I saw that I was the best in the sport, and I saw Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa all pharmaceuticaled up in toga outfits on the cover of Sports Illustrated when neither one of them was half the player I was.
Right.
So they were using steroids. They were getting Man of the Year. They were getting, these are the best guys who save baseball. Bull bleep. I'm the best. Yep. I've always been the best. Watch what I do when I get on the stuff that they're using. Watch how I do it when I use what McGwire does. I'm not going to be someone who just hits home runs and strikes out. No, I'm going to hit home runs and you're going to walk me half the bleeping time because you're afraid I'm going to take all the bases against your will, so you give me one of them for free.
He had 73, didn't he, 1 year?
He was already.
This is what people don't know. He was already the best player in the game before any of that.
The psychology of that, though, is fascinating. McGwire and Sosa forced him into a corner. You want to see the best that ever was? Okay, fine. I'll do it your way, too. We'll do it my way when I'm skinny, and I'll be the best there ever was. And then I'll do it your way with the muscles, and I'll be better at that, too.
Oh, man, I'm looking. It's just funny. You look at his stats, man. Some of them are just laugh out loud funny. His final season in 2007, he had an OPS of 1,045.
No,
I think it was 40 years old.
His final season, he was Giancarlo Stanton last year. That was Barry Bonds at 40.
Yep.
With the fountain of youth juice that Brady may or may not have with that doctor who may or may not be a doctor.
Stanton without the strikeouts.
Right. Well, that's another thing. The most amazing plate discipline in the history of the sport. That's correct. But listen to me. Barry Bonds, without steroids, would have been Giancarlo Stanton. He could have done that with a spatula. Barry Bonds could have had Giancarlo Stanton's season last year, the MVP season, with a spatula.
Dan, he had 232 walks 1 year. He had it
it was terror.
No, Dan, he had an on-base percentage of 609.
He was walked.
Nice.
No, wait a minute. He got an intentional walk. How many intentional walks did Barry Bonds get with the bases loaded?
Oh, I got to check on that.
No, I'm pretty sure that it represented the greatest terror in the sport. I'm pretty sure Barry Bonds had multiple runs walked in intentionally.
Well, it's funny because you look at that year. I'm going to look that up in a second because walks don't count as at-bats, right? They don't come in as at-bats. So in that year, he had 373 at-bats. He had 45 homers, 101 RBIs, but he also had 232 walks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And his OPS was 1421.
Well, but what do you think the answer? So what would the answer?
May 28th, 1998, Buck Showalter walked Barry Bonds with the bases loaded.
It's amazing. The fact that it just happened once.
Buck Showalter.
Hey, all right. I'll give up a run instead of 4.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm just wondering, though, I want to ask the audience this question. Which would you rather have? Hall of Fame, legitimized by baseball, or just put the quotes up there, Guillermo? He's the best that ever was. Like, which one would you rather have by your name? Like, do you need baseball to legitimize that for you?
Well, who's legitimizing you, right? It's the writers.
I mean, he never liked the writers. He never cared about the writers. Why would he allow the writers to define his excellence for him?
He doesn't, but I'm guessing it's still a place. It's a great question. I'm guessing it's still a place he'd like to be with his peers, right?
I'm not disputing that it would be an honor. I'm just saying how flimsy is the honor actually if you don't respect the people handling the honoring and they're wrong. how much does that actually mean? It becomes very easy to rationalize away all your behavior and dismiss the entity that's doing the sanctioning.
Right.
If you never got along with the media, you never thought the media gave you the proper credit, in the end, the media is being petty and spiteful and keeping you out of the Hall of Fame, even though we all know you are someone who needs to be in there. Like obvious as anything subjective can be.
It seems like you wouldn't need the validation. You'd be fine with everyone just knowing you're the greatest ever.
I know why I did what I did. I know that I was the best before I did it. I know that I saw Sosa and McGuire getting we're climbing through a loophole during a weird medical time in sports history that now has been proven to be nothing because A-Rod's getting all the great media jobs after being banned from the sport. And all of these steroid users now work in the sport. Mark McGuire is a coach.
Yep. I mean, if it makes Barry feel better, in my personal record book, he's in the Hall of Fame.
There you go.
Yep.
That's all that really matters.
Yep.
Show me the money.
I only have steroid guys in my Hall of Fame.
We have a guy who was in this gambling hearing for basketball. He's going to join us in 20 minutes. He can give us some expertise on what's going on with basketball trying to get in on gambling.
Dan Le Batard.
He had a game score of 100. Not many people do that. I think he was like the 12th ever.
Stugats.
Who cares?
So
how many wins does he have? How many strikeouts does he have?
There it is.
Game score.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen.
Right.
The gorilla has made an appearance.
You know what a game score is? Cubs 4, Pirates 3.
Yes,
that's the score of a game. Okay? Game score. Oh, game score.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
I am marveling at delighted by the way that this sports betting story is being covered, where First Take has Adam Silver in a blackjack outfit at a dealer's table, and we're making gambling this fun, playful thing, and I'm here for it. Sports has never been this. I am here for it. Yes, you want debauchery, you want gambling. Yes, big bets on all games, spill money. Let's be less repressed as a country around entertainment. I'm here for all of it. But you guys haven't been. And the idea that Adam Silver right now is in First Take and he's wearing a blackjack outfit and he's at a dealer's table and says, place your bets. And he wants 1% of all gambling done on basketball.
Smart, man.
It is smart, but I can't believe you guys are meeting this with a shrug of your shoulders because you love judging this bleep. Like, this will send you straight to church on Sundays just thinking about it. You got to go to church, ask for confession. What do they do at the synagogue? How does one demand penance at the synagogue? There's not that strange screen that you have to confess your sins to a priest, is there?
No, you just have like silent prayer and all.
Okay, silent prayer. You ask for forgiveness.
Yes.
I'm telling you, this sends
we do
people-
it once. I mean, listen. I mean, there are Jewish people who do it all the time, but Yom Kippur is really the Kol Nidre is when you're begging for forgiveness in my place.
Okay, usually if Silver is in the situation that he presently finds himself in, it's not as a blackjack dealer dressed up. Hey, I'm bringing you gambling and fun. It's usually the guy outside the church waving a Bible who says all evil can be found in Silver's kingdom.
This is going to take money away from Las Vegas, right?
Oh, I can't believe
that's dangerous if you're
I
Adam
can't
Silver.
believe any of this is happening. Any of this is happening. So we're going to talk to somebody who was in on these hearings. Daniel Wallach was in on these hearings, and he's going to be able to explain to us, again, basketball wants to change America's laws on gambling and also wants 1%.
Yep.
This feels like mafia movie stuff.
It's awesome.
Awesome.
By the way, pour a bleep ton of money into our industry.
That's right.
Yep.
Woo! Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, you saw how all of us were grabbing those FanDuel dollars. You guys saw that. Everybody in sports became these greedy bleeps. Everybody and nobody cared where the money was coming from. Hey, wait a minute. How is this legal? This is gambling. How is this legal? Nobody cared. Everyone stuck their hands in that pocket.
Including the NBA, who has an equity stake in FanDuel.
Everyone loved it. Baseball, everyone. Wait a minute. Look at all this money.
All the grave dancers celebrating the demise of ESPN. Wait till that money starts
Wait till
pouring.
that money, right? Oh. Honestly, what Silver is doing here is he's trying to tax marijuana. The government figured out, hey, if everyone's going to be smoking this anyway, how about we tax it and take a big chunk of the money for ourselves? That seems smart. Okay. Good deal. And Silver saw that, and he's like, I can't believe Silver. This is what leadership looks like, Stugats, because Goodell loves to be a first follower. He does not like to be a leader on this stuff. First follower. This is leadership. This guy is going straight into the stigma and saying, not only do I want to change America's laws, I want a percentage of the profits.
It's funny because in Windhorse's story, he states that the NFL has remained on the sidelines.
Oh, yeah, just watch
when it comes to gambling.
Goodell is a very safe observer. As players are killing themselves, they're leaking brain trauma. And Goodell is saying to himself, you know what I want to be a leader on? I'm going to try the easy one. Domestic abuse. All right. Good luck there, Roger. That's where I want to change America's laws. And he's going to try. And it's certainly a noble cause. But Silver's like, nah, with your morality. Give me the gambling money.
You want more of the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugats? Tune in starting at 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPNU.
Hi, everyone. Stugats here. Support for the Dan Le Batard Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you are confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, and your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you the same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you are getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Stugats. That's rocketmortgage.com/Stugats, STUGOTZ. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states. NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Dan Le Batard.
Never going to stop. I am what I am, man. I'm 44 years old. I ain't changing.
Stugats.
Why change now? It's worked. Here I am. Sitting next to you. Filthy rich.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
Dan Wallach is a partner at the law firm Becker and Polikoff. He's going to join us here in just a second on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
What he is someone who's been in all of these hearings, Supreme Court hearings, Albany hearings. He's been in all these hearings and can explain to us what the NBA is trying to do here.
Here's your SportsCenter update. The Farmers Insurance Open begins today, and that brings the return of Tiger Woods to professional golf. His tee time is at 1:40. My tee time's at 2:20. Me, golf cart, iPad, cocktail, collision course. How about that? That is some afternoon right there. The Patriots have officially placed Rob Gronkowski on the Super Bowl initial injury report with a concussion. He's playing. And finally, I bleep you not, CBS has announced that Murphy Brown is returning to TV. I love that show. Candace Bergen is back.
For the love of God, are you kidding me with CBS?
Reprising her starring role.
CBS, you're lazy. CBS, have an original idea. Somebody at the network, somebody in charge of something. Murphy Brown, are you kidding me?
30th anniversary, man.
Barnaby Jones is coming back next. What's the matter with you, CBS?
They gave Murph a 13-episode commitment.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Is CBS ageist against young people? CBS. It's Tom Selleck, Kevin James, Murphy Brown. Are you bleeping kidding me, CBS?
Wasn't it Mark Harmon, too?
Yeah, Moonves is giving us advice on how to revolutionize our business model.
Christ almighty. No, Moonves has definitely plastic on his couches at home, right?
Is there a better name of a person who's in charge of CBS than Leslie Moonves?
It should be. You're so right about this. Somebody come in with a better name than Leslie Moonves as a leader for all the dust on the CBS network.
1-800-Flowers.com always has something fun and exciting to surprise her with. Right now, when you order a dozen multicolored roses for just $29.99, you'll get another dozen plus a vase absolutely free. To order, go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click the radio icon, enter code Dan. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in the SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
I mean, Rupert Murdoch ain't great either.
It's pretty good. Rupert Murdoch is pretty good. But I think when you go all in with your Rupert Murdoch, I'm going to come over the top with my Leslie Moonves because, honestly, that's how you're going out after Netflix, Moonves. Murphy Brown. That's how you've decided to keep up in 2018 with Tom Selleck, Murphy Brown.
And they'll promote it, I promise you. It's sure. America's number one new drama.
America's number one new old person drama, Murphy Brown. All right, so Dan Wallach is with us now because we've been talking about the NBA. This all seems crazy to me. And so this guy's been in all these hearings and can explain it. Dan, why am I wrong? I believe that this is a seismic shift in sports. I believe that we are right now presently in the middle of something that if Silver can pull this off is going to change sports. So explain to me, please, and thank you for being on with us, what's happening here? Because I can't believe a commissioner in sports is doing this.
Well, it's not Commissioner Silver, and it's a pleasure to join you, Dan and Stu Gotts. This is 9 justices on the United States Supreme Court that are on the verge of shifting the landscape for sports betting because a couple of weeks ago, the court heard a case which involved the state of New Jersey's challenge to the federal ban on state-sanctioned sports betting. This ban, which is known as PASPA, the Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act, has been in place for 25 years, and it has prevented states from legalizing sports betting. New Jersey has challenged it on constitutional grounds, and the court was very receptive to New Jersey's arguments. So I think the conventional wisdom is the court will strike or invalidate PASPA, thereby clearing the way for states like New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania to offer sports gambling within their borders. So I think the NBA and Adam Silver are trying to get ahead of the curve and try to at least extract whatever concessions they need from state governments in order to allow this.
Why is the NBA leading on this?
If it was the NFL, they wouldn't find a very receptive audience with all their problems. The NBA has been a thought leader on the subject of sports betting going back to 2014 when Adam Silver penned an op-ed in the New York Times urging the legalization of sports gambling through a comprehensive federal solution. What the NBA wants to see is a uniform scheme that all states can abide by, done at the federal level, rather than through a patchwork of different state laws, which is what New Jersey was trying to accomplish. But I think that issue has gotten away from the NBA somewhat, and now the NBA, in order to have some say in the process, is going to get involved at the state governmental level and try to influence laws in New York, New Jersey, and all around the country. So the NBA has been the thought leader on sports gambling dating back to 2014, and the other leagues are simply just following the NBA's cue on this.
Dan Wallach is with us now. He's a partner at the law firm of Becker and Poliakoff, and he's been in on all these hearings quickly in ways that anyone can understand.
I'll try. I'm a lawyer. It's difficult.
Yeah, well, that's why I asked the question that way. This going to happen by when?
Before week 1 of the 2018 NFL season, New Jersey will have sports gambling. If the Supreme Court strikes PASPA entirely, you could see as many as 15 states, including the key northeastern states of New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, all having sports books and casinos and racetracks, with some internet or mobile-based gambling, confined within state borders. So if this decision goes the way we all expect, we're going to have nationalized sports gambling before the start of the NFL season next year. It's not going to be all 50 states, but it's going to be as many states that can get their laws in place before then, and I expect or project at least a dozen states to be ready to go by week 1.
Explain to me, if you could, what the ask is here by basketball, saying we want 1% of all basketball gambling. How much money do you imagine that would be?
Well, if you take a look at the projected market for even illegal wagering, I think by most experts believe it's somewhere in the neighborhood of $200 billion annually wagered in the illegal market. You take 1% of that, well, that's a $2 billion with a B annual cut for the sports leagues. And since the NBA and the NFL probably are the most dominant sports on which gambling takes place, it could be close to $1 billion annually for the NFL and NBA combined, maybe even more than that.
Who is that negotiation with? Who has to give the basketball the 1%? Like, why would anyone have to give basketball the 1%?
Because the leagues will try to block any legislation that does not include a payoff or a cut of the action. The leagues care about two things here. They want to get paid for their product because without their product, there's no sports gambling. So in essence, it's a payoff, but they've couched it as an integrity fee because the leagues will now have to ramp up their operations to ensure that there are no fixed matches. They'll have to hire betting experts and really have an organization in place to safeguard the league and the game.
Dan, it's a side business. They've got an entire side. Basketball is going to create a multi-billion dollar business on the side.
It's for everybody. They're not the only beneficiaries, Dan. We're talking casinos, racetracks, racetracks, sports betting operators, Google, Verizon. Verizon is trying to position itself for the online gambling market. This is going to be an economic juggernaut that is not limited to the leagues. It's going to benefit over a whole spectrum of industries. And, of course, the leagues, since they own the games, since they produce the games, want to get a pretty sizable cut here. So they care about the money, and they care about preventing fixed matches. So they're going to insist on consumer protections
that's the part,
and safeguards.
though, Dan. That's the part that's complicated here. Like, they can try and protect integrity of matches, but isn't the greatest concern here that all of a sudden you'll have another Tim Donaghy situation that they won't be able to monitor it?
Well, you want to be able to monitor it and detect it in an open, transparent, and regulated market. The reason we've only heard about Tim Donaghy and no one else is that the leagues and the industry are basically have their heads in the sand and have no idea what's going on in illegal markets, which are very difficult to monitor. Once you open it up and create like a stock market-like exchange with monitoring and regulation and oversight, you'll be in a position to detect any type of corruption or match-fixing possibilities at the earliest possible time. You're not going to eradicate all of it, but wouldn't it be better to have an early warning system and some ability to detect rather than to pretend it doesn't exist? I mean, basketball is not the problem. Some of the lower leagues, tennis, some of the soccer leagues in Europe, this is not going to be a major problem at the major U.S. professional sport level.
Let me ask you this.
They paid too much money.
If I may ask you, Dan Wallach with us, partner at the law firm Becker and Poliakoff. He's been in on all of these sessions. Who's paying you? Like you sound like you're advocating for this, and so I just don't know what your history is. Like, what are you fighting for? What are you personally fighting for in these meetings?
I'm passionate about the subject. I have not received a dime on this issue from any stakeholder. I've been following the sports betting debate going back to 2011. I'm a gaming lawyer. I'm a sports guy. I just found an issue that I'm deeply passionate about, and I'm not an advocate for anything other than what I think is common sense regulation, which is everybody is going to benefit from this. State governments, the leagues, taxes, the casino, the tourism industry. This is a win-win for everybody as long as there are appropriate safeguards in place to prevent compulsive gambling, safeguards, and to prevent match fixing. I don't have a dime of benefit from any of this. I'm just passionate about the subject, just like you're passionate about sports and you've earned a living from it. I've, unfortunately not earned a tremendous living from being opinionated about this subject, but it's something I care deeply about, and I think there's a consensus across the board that this is going to happen, and it should happen. Where the disagreement lies is in the vehicle and in the regulatory structure that would work best.
Who would be upset by this? Are you saying no one? No one would be upset by this. Doesn't hurt anyone?
Roger Goodell and those who believe that more gambling creates more problem gambling. Certainly there's a risk of creating a new generation of gambling addicts, but in the absence of any regulation or legalization, there are no safeguards, there's no education, there are no vehicles to help these people.
How about Vegas? Vegas isn't hurt by this at all?
Not in the least bit. The companies that own MGM and Wynn, they own casinos in other states. Right. They are supportive of having their properties in other states.
Look,
you crushed it.
First of all, you crushed it. You get the salute of our shipping container. You crushed it. But just for the record, everybody, just for the record, because we'd be irresponsible if we didn't say this, the big drawback is the horrible addiction of gambling that is going to plague all of our country and ruin lives. But other than that, we're good.
Yes.
So thank you, Dan, for your excellent work here. You did important work here.
Dan, yes. And by the way,
Dan and Stu Gatz, it's the Miami connection. We have to keep it together. I'm located only a few miles away, so I'm glad you located me in plain view here.
Well, is Florida going to be one of those states? Because if not, I'm moving.
Yeah, is Florida going to be one of those states? No?
Florida will be the last mover. The anti-gambling forces in Florida are not at the cutting edge. We can't even expand gambling. We don't have any casinos. We just have racetracks and poker and slot machines.
All right, Dan. All right. That's fine. We'll hire you in Florida. Let's see if we can get cocaine legalized. All right? You'll be our cocaine lawyer.
Dan, I'll work on it.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Now to the good stuff.
So smart, man. Adam Silver.
Yes, Adam Silver. I mean, is it that Adam Silver is so smart, or is it that Roger Goodell is not? Which is it? Because Goodell's afraid of all this stuff.
Yes, he is.
And Silver's swaggering into it. Hip shaking. 1% of gambling, And this is just the start to the gateway stuff. Next, it's brothel and drugs. And now we got a party.
Yeah.
Dan Lebitard.
Limited fake Tim Kirkchen. What do the Royals have to do to make the playoffs?
Stugats.
Dan, the Royals are really good.
This is the Dan Lebitard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Tim Kirkchen going to join us. We miss him. He's going to join us in just a minute here on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Here's your SportsCenter update. The Farmers Insurance Open begins today, and that brings the return of Tiger Woods to professional golf. I can't wait. His tee time is at 1:40. Mine's at 2:30. I'll be watching him on the course with a cocktail. The Patriots have officially placed Rob Gronkowski on the Super Bowl 52 initial injury report with a concussion. He's playing. And finally, what happened there? Meryl Streep has joined the cast of Big Little Lies for season 2. I mean, seriously. Whole career's a lie. For all the latest headlines and information, what happened there? What? She's an overrated actor.
Your crusade to discredit Meryl Streep when she's an accomplished person and you are not is amazing.
If you say so. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in the SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
All right, before we get to Tim Kirkchen here and some baseball stuff, let's just get into, real quick, Bob Lee telling us what P.J. Carlesimo looks like.
P.J. Carlesimo looks like the Geiger counter reader on the remote island who's the first to know some sort of catastrophe is coming to the mainland, but can't get anyone to listen to him because everyone thinks he's a kook.
The reason I bring it up is because you guys realize that Mike D'Antoni has been this for 15 years. He's been a kook in that league.
Yep.
Saying, guys, there's a shot out here that's worth more than the rest. Listen to me. And everyone's been like, you're a kook.
And now everyone's
like, wait a minute.
Yes, he was right.
D'Antoni knows something. The guy, I just thought he looked like the outside of the Pringles can.
He's a kook.
I thought he was the pilot who was wishing me a nice stay in Minneapolis when we land.
He's a kook.
D'Antoni's now saying, you idiots. There's been a shot all along on the court worth more than all the others.
Kook.
I've been telling you for 15 years.
Yep.
Kirkchen loves basketball.
Yes.
Tim, are you not amazed? I cannot believe the evolution of this sport where we're in a place where you don't know if you want the 7'9" guy because you need to ask if he can shoot threes or if he can guard them.
Yeah, it's changed so dramatically, Dan. I told you I'm way older than you guys, but when I grew up, there was a back center with his back to the basket, the low post on every possession, and the point guard was Kevin Porter, 5'10", somehow getting himself into the lane and floating one up in the air, or feeding the big man in the low post. Now the point guard is Russell Westbrook, who beats guys off the dribble at almost 6'6", and then dunks with his opposite hand over the center of the other team. That's how much the game has changed. And I told you guys the Lakers won an NBA championship making 9 3-pointers the entire season. And now teams go and shoot 45 in a game.
Yep.
That's how much the game has changed.
Crazy.
Trevor Ariza shot more last night.
Tim, it's crazy to think about. How did we not realize this sooner?
Well, it's a good point, and again, somebody finally figured out, hey, with an extra point, why not shoot it more often? But it's gotten to the point, and I'm not even being critical here, it's absurd. You're right. I see 7-footers who are shooting the three all the time now, and when they make it, I just go, oh my God. When I saw Joel Embiid make a couple 3-pointers like he's done this before, I went, all right, this is absurd. He's never been as big as Shaquille O'Neal, but for him to be that big and shoot a three is a joke.
That's right. No, Tim, you are absolutely right. Yes or no, if we were fighting the aliens, the first person you're sending is Joel Embiid.
Yeah, I would, because he's big, so I'm going to take the biggest guy, although, again, you've said it before, there's something inside Russell Westbrook that's never been inside anybody else.
Agreed.
And LeBron, of course, is a physical freak of all.
No, wait a minute. He's
put that on the poll,
Guillermo, put it on the poll.
Yes.
Is there something inside of Russell Westbrook that there has never been inside of anyone else?
But, Timmy, you've kind of seen that in
Any
baseball.
other living thing.
Yes, it's a great question, Tim. It's a great point by you. Tim, it's kind of happened in baseball, right, where teams are saying, hey, why settle for one run when I can hit a home run and get 3?
It is actually happening in your sport, and it happened quite as fast.
Right, and here's the deal, fellas. We averaged so there was a point there where the major league record for I'm not saying this right. The major league record for wins in a season in which you strike out 15 or more times was like it had happened like 5 times where a team won a game striking out 15 or more times. And now it happens like 40 times a year that a team strikes out 15 times in a game and wins the game. It's because everyone is swinging as hard as they can on every pitch. And the damage ratio is so high, they think, if I strike out 3 times and hit a homer, I've had a great day. And that's how the game is played today. 40,000 strikeouts last year, 6,000 homers, 2 marks that have never been touched before, and this is where we are. It's the most all-or-nothing baseball has ever been.
Tim, I want you to answer this question without asking me any follow-up questions. I just want an answer to this. Tim Kurkjian, the best you've ever seen in baseball is blank. Do not ask me any follow-up questions. Just give me a name. The best Tim Kurkjian has ever seen is blank.
Well,
Tim?
It's hard.
Tim?
Best
Tim?
hitter?
Tim. A name.
Barry Bonds is the greatest player I've ever seen.
This is the question.
But
No. Stop. Stop.
Tone.
Stop.
I was 9 when I saw Willie Mays.
I don't want to talk to you about Willie Mays.
Doesn't count.
You answered the question. The question has been answered. This is what I want to ask you. Which do you think Barry Bonds would prefer? Hall of Famer or what you just did, which is what most people would do? Best I ever saw. Which do you think he should prefer?
I think he would prefer to be there goes the greatest we've ever seen. That's what I think he would prefer over there goes a Hall of Famer.
Because that's a fairly amazing thing to say, and I think you're right. But you would agree, right, that if you asked around in your sport, that most people would answer the way that you just answered on Barry Bonds.
Yeah, and look, we all know what happened there, yet at the same time, I cannot tell you how many Major League players that I have talked to, interviewed a million times over the years, and they all say the same thing about Barry Bonds. They've never seen anybody like him. The numbers are staggering. You guys know these numbers. I mean, he had, like his last 6 or 7 years, he had more intentional walks than he had strikeouts. Think about that for a minute.
That's amazing.
Think about the fact that he had more intentional walks one year than anyone else in his league had walks. And Greg Maddux, who's one of the great pitchers of all time, recently said that Barry Bonds was the easiest hitter in baseball to pitch to, because he said in classic Greg Maddux ease, well, if you're ever in trouble, you just walk him. And that's what everybody did. And so when you look, again, everyone has to know there's a gigantic but here. But when you're rating the greatest hitters of all time, I don't think there's a doubt about this. It's Babe Ruth, it's Ted Williams, it's Barry Bonds. That is the list.
All right. Does Jay Glazer look like he's being squeezed from the bottom up and is ready to pop? Does Dwayne Casey look like he's been waiting 4 bleeping hours to smoke this cigarette? Does Marty Smith look like the new cool guy at work, making the coworkers laugh until the former cool guy, Ryan Russillo, walks in? Does Sean McVay look like the local country club golf pro overly interested in your wife's hips during her backswing? Does Doris Burke look like the person waving behind the hosts on the Today Show holding a sign that reads, "Happy Birthday, Mom"? Does Lane Kiffin look like the coworker who doesn't look away while you type in your password during a conversation at your desk? Does Doug Peterson look like Myrtle Beach?
Don Le Batard.
You are the best, and when I say the best, I mean the very worst and most evil.
Stugotz.
The worst.
But this time, it's for real.
Worst.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. When Vince McMahon announces the new XFL at 3 p.m. today, is he going to have Johnny Manziel with him?
He better.
Do you think the opening press conference is going to be Johnny Manziel and Vince McMahon reopen the XFL for business?
I think that would be great. I'm certain Johnny Manziel will be playing in the XFL. I can't wait for this.
I mean, the XFL is going to be dirty. America wasn't ready for the XFL back then, but now, when football has been forced by science to actually feel like it's going soft?
Yes. They have to go the opposite direction, right? Real men play this game, right?
Yeah, no politically correct, nothing. Like they're going, they're going to try and get Trump at their first game.
Yeah, but when it launched, it was of its time. It captured the zeitgeist of attitude and all sorts of uncensored attitude. Now, everyone's sensibilities, we're going to be clutching our pearls when we see XFL.
I wonder, do you have that audio, that YouTube audio of, is it the Purdue coach? What's this guy's name who played in the XFL? Is it Brom? The guy was a quarterback in the XFL. And there's this great video on YouTube of him on it's like a mockumentary. It's like an Adam Sandberg mockumentary is what it feels like, where he is on the turf and you see that his helmet is sideways and his ear hole is where his nose is supposed to be on his helmet. And it's sideways, and then they're talking to somebody who was there, and they give you the mockumentary soundbite of like, yeah, his nose was where his ear was supposed to be, his ear was where his nose was supposed to be, there was a lot of blood. And so then what happens next is they show you this quarterback in a neck brace, and then they do the sideline interview 6 games later, where science be damned, brain trauma be damned. And put this on the poll as well, Guillermo, please. Do Pats fans care at all about how Gronk's brain is?
No.
Yes or no? Do they care at all? Not in ways that affect the future Sunday. Do they care at all? Is there a single Pats fan? Do it this way, actually. Is there one Pats fan who would agree to sit Gronk on Sunday if it meant that there would be further brain damage? Put it on them like that. They know that future brain damage is coming. Is there one Pat fan who would say, Gronk, you need to sit this one out?
You're guaranteeing brain damage.
I'm guaranteeing future brain damage. Is there one Pat fan that tells Gronk he should sit? One who cares about his brain.
If you guaranteed that to Gronk, do you think he would sit?
That's a good question, too. Regardless, let's go back to the XFL. We are looking at possibly the XFL's return at 3 p.m. today.
And this sound is courtesy of WWE Entertainment.
Okay, WWE Entertainment. This is the quarterback for which team? Do we know which?
He was the Orlando Rage.
Okay.
Yeah, he was the Orlando Rage. Now he's a head coach at Purdue University. This is Jeff Brom.
All right, here's Jeff Brom being interviewed on the sideline before a game, 6 days removed, what looked like brain splattering.
Jeff Brom, how in the world are you starting this game tonight after taking that hit just 6 days ago?
Well, let me answer that question by asking you 2 questions. One, is this or is this not the XFL? Yes, it is. 2, do I or do I not currently have a pulse? Yes, I do. Let's play football.
And then he ran off. And ladies and gentlemen, I cannot wait for this 3 p.m. press conference by Vince McMahon.
It was weird that he ran off in the wrong direction.
That's right. Totally in the wrong direction. Straight into a wall like Gus Frerotte. Knocked out for the rest of the season.
Oh, man. Sound of the Day is brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. Upgrade the shaving with a fresh blade whenever you want for a fraction of the price. Join DollarShaveClub.com today. Mike had Manziel and Tebow playing in the first XFL game.
That's a kickoff game.
Yeah, it's a kickoff game.
You do everything you can to make that happen. It's a ratings bonanza.
It really would be.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Is Manziel versus Tebow in the first XFL game a ratings bonanza?
You have Trump at the opening game? National anthem every quarter?
I mean, Trump, this is the spirit of Trump. Do not care about your politically correct science. Do not care about what you think about global warming or brain injuries.
But how many national anthems? Like every possession? Change of possession.
Oh, yes. The national anthem is playing throughout the game nonstop.
That's instead of a coin toss. There's an independent arbiter that decides who honored the flag better.
We're headed toward an interesting place here. Do you realize that Vince McMahon's got some stuff to navigate here because the NFL's also not sexy enough? Is Vince McMahon going to be able to do all of the sexy that the XFL was trying to do, where we encourage dating between the cheerleaders and the players?
It is right now. Like, he was way ahead of his time, okay, when he first launched it, but now he's got a real opportunity here. He really does.
This is into the breach, okay? American football have gone soft. And into the breach, fists on his hips, still looking at 70 years old like a bodybuilder. Vince McMahon with bleep you double middle fingers to everyone in sports. I'm in charge now. I'm here for it.
I'm watching this press conference.
At 3 o'clock, yes. I want to see what he's going to rip Goodell, right? What's going to happen at this press conference? I am totally fine with the idea of doing a pregame that predicts what's going to happen at 3 p.m. to be the tailgate show on this 3 p.m. XFL press conference.
What do you think's going to happen? You're always asking for a wrestling in sports. I mean, this is it.
I think wrestling in sports is coming at 3 o'clock.
I'm sick of not knowing what a catch is. Yeah. And everyone's going to be like,
You're so right. I'm sick of what are his platform points? Yes. Yes. Perfect. He is speaking to America on that one. What the hell's a catch?
Helmet to helmet. What else do you hit with?
That's right.
Enough with the kickers. No kickers.
No kicking.
No punting.
In fact, you only hit to the head.
This is where we're going.
No concussion tests.
No, that's right. Ladies and gentlemen.
Protocol.
Ladies and gentlemen.
You want to get out there, you have to have a concussion.
The 3 p.m. press conference. More brain damage.
Mike Golick here. You know, ADT, the #1 security company, can now help keep you safe at home and when you're on the go. Get started with the ADT Starter Kit professionally installed for only $49. Plus, you'll get ADT Go, the new family mobile safety app and service with 24/7 emergency response for free with any ADT security system. Go to ADT.com/podcast to learn more today.
Requires 36-month monitoring contract, QSP and Easy Pay. Activation and early termination fees may apply. Certain markets excluded. Licenses available at ADT.com. Additional charge for ADT Go premium services after March 31st, 2018.
Don Le Batard.
Man, Le Batard, you're a wimp. You never put your hand in the dirt. It's football. It's a man's game. Be a man. Get concussed.
Stugats.
Be a man, Le Batard. Have your brain scrambled. Drool out your mouth. Drool, Le Batard. Be a man.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Are you okay with Dave Chappelle and Jack White controlling your cell phone?
You know who else is doing it? I can't remember what arena. Maybe it's Georgetown. Their home arena where they play. There's a section or a couple of sections where you cannot bring your cell phone. You can't use it. You have to talk to people.
But this is interesting, right? Because the addictions that America has that are frowned upon and illegal, you don't. This is Jack White and Dave Chappelle telling you in a scolding parental manner, pay attention.
Yeah.
And are you good with that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I think a lot of people aren't good with that.
No, I'm good with it, man. I go to all these concerts. I go to a lot of dead shows, and there are always people. They're talking. They're holding their cameras up. They're sitting in front of me, and I'm like, let's go, man.
I get it as a philosophical life point. Hey, enjoy your life instead of videotaping. Live your life instead of showing everybody how you're living your life. You usually don't want that stuff from your artists. Chappelle and Jack White, who are a couple of the cool guys, are telling you not at my shows.
Totally good.
No
with that.
phone.
Yep, totally fine with that.
It's more likely to fly with his fan base because you're already buying into a certain style.
Well, who else can do that though? Because I'm not sure that you guys are tolerating someone else telling you, hey, this unhealthy addiction you have to your phone and your social media, you're not going to have it in my place of work. I don't know that there are a lot of people you're tolerating that from.
Well, no, I think to Mike's point, if you're a fan of someone, you will tolerate it. If you want to see that person perform that badly, you'll put your phone away for 3 hours and watch them perform.
Okay. And I just don't think that there are that many people with the bona fides to be able to tell their customers your addiction is not acceptable in my place of work. If you wish to see me perform for you, not only will you pay, you will leave your addiction at the door. There aren't a lot of people who have the kind of creative clout to tell their customers that, and their customers are like, yes, sir. Whatever you say, sir.
Yeah, I guess you're
Whatever
right.
you say, boss.
Right. I mean, you have to have the clout. You have to have a massive following. You're right.
There aren't a lot of people with the creative juice to throw that in the customer's face. What I wanted to ask you before we get to Stephen A. Smith and some of the silly stuff. Stephen A. Smith's going to join us in 10 minutes. The GOAT, the best there ever was. I want to ask you about this news that broke during our show yesterday, and now today it's happening again with Michigan State and the chancellor resigning at Michigan State. The chancellor had 13 years of what is deemed good service, and the chancellor, as far as I can tell, handled this mess about as well as this mess can ever be handled, which is never well. And yet she had to resign today, and that feels understandable. But what I wanted to ask you, and I want to make sure, I think it goes without saying, obviously this is not in any way pro-pedophilia. We're all in agreement on the fact that what that doctor did is horrific, and he deserves the greatest punishments our country has on this front because the crimes are heinous, and he took advantage of young girls sexually, and you cannot have that as behavior in this or any country.
And he got him. He got the harshest punishment.
Okay, he got the harshest
Signed
punishment.
his death certificate.
But that's right. The judge said, I'm signing your death certificate. But what I want to ask you guys is this, because I find this subject matter very difficult. That doctor cannot control, correct, who he's attracted to. The attraction itself is not something that a pedophile can control, right? No one in our audience right now can control what or whom they're attracted to. The feeling, I'm saying. Correct or incorrect, what I'm saying?
There's plenty of people that would say you're incorrect.
Yes.
Hold on a second.
And I don't know enough to say whether they can or they can't.
Hold on a second. You guys think this isn't a brain chemistry issue problem, you don't think there are people in our audience right now saying, I can't help it, I'm attracted to children. I can't control this attraction that I have.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there are plenty that are saying that, though.
Okay, well, all right. Because the premise might be flawed if you don't agree with the initial thing that you can't control who you're attracted to. If I just say to you in general terms, and I don't make it kids, can you control who you're attracted to? Men, women, children, animals. Can you control the attraction? Not can you control the behavior that comes after the attraction. That is a must.
Right.
In a civilized community, it is a must. It doesn't matter what your thoughts are, what your feelings are, what your attractions are. You must control what you do with those actions the moment that they impede upon anyone else.
So I think a lot of people would agree with what you said on the front end. Yeah, you can't control that, but you should be able to control. Once you realize that, you should be able to know the difference between right and wrong, and you should be able to control what you do.
All right,
with that attraction.
and Louis C.K. has had problems with control, but he addressed this on Saturday Night Live and other places. He took the dangerous subject matter on. What a horrible thing to live with. If you are attracted to children, can't control that attraction to children, and you know that the penalty for not controlling that attraction is you're gonna lose your freedom and your life in the most humiliating, awful way possible. You are choosing a prison sentence where you will be the victim of everything that happens in prison because of how prison treats this thing. And yet still you did it. And yet still you did it. What kind of control do you have over your impulses when you choose that? When you choose to, I can't control my impulses. I have to do this with kids. I have to take advantage of this. And when I get caught, it's going to be the worst existence that a human being can endure on this planet. I am going to pay for my sins. The harm that I have wrought on these children, I'm going to pay for it with what remains of my life in prison by being treated like one of these children, by being taken advantage of. That is vengeance. That is justice. That is how America handles these things. But I'm curious, and I ask you this sincerely. While all of us want those people in jail because they need to be kept away from children, to me, jail seems like the worst possible place to put these people. Like, if I were to choose on earth.
What's the alternative?
I know that's the problem. We don't have an alternative.
Facility.
We don't have an alternative because everyone understands these crimes must be punished. But to me, the mind of someone who is a pedophiliac, to me, that whatever is happening in that mind A pedophile is what I should call him. I'm sorry. It's not a pedophilia.
That's a fine.
Is it?
I believe so.
An awkward one, but it is.
That's not a fine. How do we handle this? It feels like what America does with this issue is just throws it in its penal system because we don't know where else to put it.
Right, but Dan, what if, and we have no way of knowing this, what if this guy thought he would never get caught?
Okay, maybe, Stugatz.
Because he got away with it for so long.
All right, maybe, Stugatz, but what does that matter? Most pedophiles know that if you act on that impulse and get caught, it's going to be a pretty horrible prison sentence. I think most people know that. It's not even the normal. Look, imagine how much you fear losing your own freedoms. Now make it a lot worse than that. It's not just losing your freedoms. You're the least respected thing in our prison system, and you're the thing that's going to be taken advantage of physically and sexually by anyone who wants to do it. You are now going to live an eternity that is not unlike what you brought to the lives of these little girls at Michigan State.
But I just think people are having a hard time saying you can't control your attraction. I'm attracted to money. I don't go steal it, man.
Okay, well...
I think I am stealing it right now, actually, as a matter of fact.
True. Yep. You are. The first part's true.
Awkward transition.
You're addicted to money.
Time for some ads.
And you often do very questionable things around money. I just think it's worth thinking about. I know many of you are uncomfortable with the subject matter. You certainly don't want it with your sports. You don't want it with your sports radio. But it is something that I don't have a solution for you. It seems like we've got the best case scenario of just throwing all pedophiles in jail for as long as you can and make it horrible for them. It seems like that's the best we can do. But I do wonder what a horrible hell it must be to be someone who is attracted to 13-year-old boys and girls and can't help it. Knows it's wrong, but cannot help it. You're just attracted to that. And then the next step on that is you have to control that behavior for the safety of all of us. We have to control it, but the way we control it is by throwing it in jail. And it's not controlling it. Like, it's not actually working.
No.
Because these crimes keep happening.
But to many people, it feels right. It feels like the right punishment.
I get it.
Hey, go suffer what you did to them.
That's fine. And that's the best we can do. I get it.
Yeah.
1-800-Flowers, people. Again with the awkward transition into 1-800-Flowers. That's my fault. Stephen A. Smith is going to join us next. Stephen A. Smith does sports poetry, loves poems, loves sports. He's going to join us next.
Don Le Batard. Let me be very, very clear. When it comes to commentary, talking about the game of basketball, I'm just talking about on television, the combination of content and personality and presentation, I'm not going to lie to y'all. I think I'm the best in America. I really do.
Stugatz. He's the best, man. He is the best. He is great at television, great at radio, and I wish I had that kind of confidence about anything in my life other than my appetite.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugatz on ESPN Radio.
Chipper Jones, Hall of Famer, going to join us in about 15 minutes. If you missed any of the show, you can listen to all 3 hours of the Dan Le Batard Show on demand in the ESPN app. While I was talking there, a piece of lettuce came out of my mouth. Shredded, by the way. Plus our Miami Only Hour that airs before the show, and now you can subscribe to our Best of Podcasts. It's all available in the Listen tab of the ESPN app. He's the greatest to ever do this. He's Stephen A. Smith. He's on after us, 1 to 3 nationally on ESPN Radio. And he joins us now in the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
Not only is Stephen A's confidence something to behold, but Stugatz's is as well, because he thinks his every thought is important, which is why he told you that his lettuce was shredded that he just spit out.
Well, no, I know people are watching on TV and they saw the lettuce just fly out
but
of my mouth.
But also you think every thought you have is an important one.
Confirmed.
Stephen A. Smith with us now on ESPN Radio, and he created a stir here with some things said about Dan Gilbert. And before we just go any further, thank you as always, Stephen A. Greatest who ever.
All right, can you hear me? Can you hear me clearly? I'm just checking because I'm in the cafeteria. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What cafeteria?
Okay, right,
You're in the Bristol cafeteria right
now? No. I'm in the ABC building in New York City.
Okay.
Today.
And so how does that work? Have you gotten lunch yet? Do you have it? Are you picking it up now?
I've gotten lunch. I had to stand online for about 10, 15 minutes, get my food, pay for it, and hope that I made it in time for the radio show, which I did.
Okay. So what did you get?
Chicken, grilled chicken sandwich.
Nice.
Slice of Swiss cheese. Some fries. I'm cheating today. messing with my workout, but I've been eating salads for the last 3 days. So I just said, you know what? I'm cheating today. I don't give a damn.
Do they know who you are? Because I figure you just show up there and lunch is sitting on the table,
everywhere
man.
They know where he is. But, like, how does that work?
Yeah.
Do you sit by yourself? Do people gather around to ask your opinion on sports?
No, I don't give them that opportunity. The only chance you get to talk to me is when I'm standing online. I get my food, and in Bristol, I'll go to my office, or here in New York City, I'll go upstairs to one of the offices, and I'll chill out. I like to be left alone because I only got that hour break before I go from first take to radio, and I like to be hyped, psyched, and ready to go, and I don't like anybody messing with my moves.
Well, Stephen A. Smith can't eat publicly without being bothered, right? That's not possible anymore.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. I mean, they will come up to me and try, but I'm not the most easily approachable dude in the world, and if you come up to me, you better do so respectfully. Otherwise, you never know what's going to happen. Because I don't mind cussing somebody out if I have to. It doesn't bother me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, wait a minute. But hold on a second.
Yes.
So I don't think Stephen A. Smith can eat in public without a person approaching his table in America. Am I wrong?
That is true.
Okay.
That is true. They do. I get approached all the time, but most people approach me very respectfully. They might ask for an autograph or a picture, or they might give a comment or whatever the case may be. And I'm certainly courteous. I was raised right. But if you come up to me and you're disrespectful, you're gonna get your feelings hurt.
All right. I don't want to do role playing. Stephen A. Smith is an accomplished journalist. He doesn't need my help with this. But could we hear what that might sound like if someone approached Stephen A. Smith in the wrong fashion?
I can give you an example. I can get one time, and I'm not a violent person, but I almost had to be restrained. My mom, God rest her soul, I took her out for dinner for her birthday one time. This was maybe about 5 years ago, and somebody did not like a comment that I had said about their team. They literally tried to sit down to get on me about my comments while my mother was sitting next to me. Now, Dan Le Batard, you and I go back many years. How'd you think that went over?
Well, I can't wait to find out. I cannot wait to find out in your own words how that went over.
I told the guy, you got 3 seconds to get it right now. I'm gonna whip your ass.
Okay.
That's exactly what I told him.
And did he get up?
And then, he got up. He got up. And he was ready. He was ready to fight. And my mother grabbed my arm, told me, Stephen, don't do that. Because obviously my mother didn't raise me to be that way. But I was so offended that he knew it was clear I was with my mother. And for him to come over to me in front of my mother and try to interrupt our dinner over something like that, yes, it was the first time in my career that I had to be restrained from putting my hands on somebody.
Well, how does this work professionally for you, Stephen A.? Because you don't mind your fights. You are coming at peers in the NBA when you come at Durant and everybody else. Has it ever gotten to a point journalistically like that, where you have to say to somebody, I've been in a locker room with you on Dampier, and you are not quiet about what your opinion is if someone's a bum. And I'm just wondering how often that has resulted in possible physical confrontation.
Well, a couple of times. I won't mention any names because I got in a little bit of trouble of that. But, I mentioned names in the news before, so I refrain from mentioning who. But there were a couple of instances where that almost happened because somebody felt the need to get in my face because they didn't like what I said. When it comes to the athletes, I don't know if people truly appreciate this. I'm indebted to them, and I'm grateful to them because I don't think the industry is what it is if it wasn't for the marvelous skills that they have and what they're able to put on display. So I respect all of those guys. I just have to chronicle what you do. That's my job. I don't talk about who you are because I don't know you like that. I talk about what you do in public view. If you stink, you stink. If you are sorry, you are sorry. If you are great, you are great. If you make a decision, then you make a decision. For example, you bring up Kevin Durant. I will never deviate from my position that it was the weakest move that I've ever seen by a superstar for him to go to the Golden State Warriors. Yes. But it doesn't take away from the fact that he's one of the greatest players in the game. He's a superstar. He's a future Hall of Famer who happens to be a very, very good guy whose family is Mama Durant and everybody who I've met and have talked to on many occasions, and I seem to know a little bit. They're all wonderful people. It doesn't take away from any of those things. But that particular move was weak to me. Now, people take it and they run away with it, just like yesterday on First Take. I'm talking about how LeBron and his people think that if he were to commit to 3 to 5 years, who's to stop Dan Gilbert from then turning around and selling the Cleveland Cavaliers and getting a boatload of money because the franchise has more valuable with LeBron on the squad than it does with him off of it. So that's what I said. But then you have bloggers that go out there and say, well, Stephen A. said that Dan Gilbert's trying to sell the Cavs, which I did not say. And so you see people lying about you all the time or embellishing your positions because that's how folks become relevant in this day and age. If they couldn't work their way up the terrain and do it on their own accord, like me and you and Stu and others have done, what they do is they use names to bring recognition to themselves. This is the way the world is right now. It's sad, but that's the way it goes.
Stephen A., I am with you on Kevin Durant. I have a personal record book, and in my personal record book, Kevin Durant has not won an NBA championship. Has he won one in your personal record book?
Yes, he has.
Oh!
And the reason why he's won a championship is because he didn't just show up and ride the coattails of anybody else. He was the MVP of the NBA Finals. He averaged 35 on.
But if he hadn't been, he would not have a championship.
He'd have a championship. I just wouldn't recognize him as a champion.
Yeah, that's it. Same thing. Yeah.
If he had not performed the way that he performed.
All right. Stephen A., always a pleasure catching up with you. Thank you for making the time, sir.
Take it easy, guys.
Stephen A. Smith Show right after ours, 1:03. Do not interrupt him during his sandwich. Chipper Jones, Hall of Famer, next.
Don Le Batard.
I feel terrible.
Here's the thing with you. You don't actually feel terrible.
I didn't feel a thing, to be honest with you. I don't really care.
I know. You announcing I feel terrible is just your way to move on to the next terrible thing you're going to do.
Stugats.
They're just words, and words mean nothing to you.
They don't mean nothing. His words mean nothing.
Words are just transitions to your next lie.
That's so right. They're not words. They are bridges to lies.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
We are happy for him. He's been a friend of the show for a while. We loved watching him work, and now he is in his rightful place in the Hall of Fame.
I'm a Mets fan. I hated watching him work.
I know. Yeah, he enjoyed crushing your spirit. I don't think there's anything he enjoyed more than hitting home runs at Shea. In fact, let's start there. Chipper Jones with us, Hall of Famer Chipper Jones. Name a thing in your career better than hitting a home run at Shea. You named one of your children Shea just because you love hitting home runs at Shea. Name one thing in your career better than that, and congratulations, by the way.
Thank you very much. I think just hearing how much a career Mets fan loves to hate me is good enough for me, man.
What is better? What is better? If you can only have one in your life, if Chipper Jones can only have one in his life, being inducted into the Hall of Fame or the eternal hatred of Mets fans, which do you choose?
That's a tough one. I'm gonna have to shun the Mets fan and go with the Hall of Fame. It's a tremendous honor to go in, especially with this class. You're talking about some great players, but some Hall of Fame people as well. So I'm extremely proud to be alongside these guys.
It's a good choice because while I hated watching you beat my team, I respected the hell out of you. So that's a good choice, the Hall of Fame.
Well,
I don't think he cares whether you respect him or not. In fact, which would you prefer?
I respected his greatness.
Wait. Which would you prefer more from Mets fans, their hatred or their respect?
I wanted the respect, but the hatred was kind of cool there for a while. It made for good TV. I was the villain, and my dad always said when I was little, he's a huge Mickey Mantle fan, so a fan of the Yankees there for a time, and he said he always told me, he said, if you can be successful at that stage up there, you can be successful anywhere. So. When I first came up here, man, I'm sitting in New York City as we speak. So, but when I first came up here, I never leave my room. This place was so intimidating to me. All the people, all the concrete. I'm used to trees and grass and yards and stuff, and it intimidated me. But luckily for me, when I went to the Queens, they had some grass and some clay and a mound and home plate and fences that I could hit the ball over, and I felt a little more comfortable, out there. So, But as I got older, I started branching out. I started to feel more comfortable up here. I love the interaction with the fans walking down the street, window shopping, go get a haircut, go get fitted for a suit, something like that. And that interaction with not just Mets fans, but Yankee fans, all throughout the years it got a lot better as my career went on.
Chipper, I've got a lot of questions for you. Again, Chipper Jones with us, Hall of Famer now, Chipper Jones. And I want to ask you about your father and your relationship with your father. Your father, who would he say is the best switch hitter ever? Would he say Mickey Mantle or would he say you?
100% he would say Mickey Mantle. 100%.
Would you tell him that he's wrong?
Of course I would. There's nobody on the, living or not living that I would rather have at the plate than me. Okay? I mean, I have.
That's awesome.
I have that kind of confidence, but obviously, Mickey Mantle, the matinee idol up here, I mean, he was the first to do it, and he was the first to do it at an elite level. And trust me, I have no problem being second to Mickey in any category.
Chipper,
I have no problem.
Chipper, do you look at the numbers and say, no, here I'm better? Where are you better? You know it off the top of your head.
Yeah, but Dads, they don't care. They always think
that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. But Chipper, tell me off the top of your head the numbers of yours that you know are better than Mickey Mantle's. Tell me.
I got a higher career batting average, and I have more RBIs.
All right. So you got a good. That's it.
Do you ever tell Dad that?
Yeah, of course he tells the Dad. What's Dad's argument to that? In fact, Allison, hit Dad on the phone right now. I want to have this argument with Chipper's dad because this is like he's got to give it to you. You're in the Hall of Fame now. He's got to give it to you.
Well, I think it's very hard to compare people from different eras, number one. And, but, Mickey hit 500 homers. And, I would say this, Mickey didn't play as long as I did. So, I mean, if he throws those numbers during the span of, 19 years, 20 years, there's no telling. Sky's the limit for what Mickey would have done.
Chipper, speaking of your dad, the Braves came to your home, I believe, and they offered you a contract and wanted to make you the number one pick. And your dad, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, your dad didn't want you to sign that contract?
It wasn't that he didn't want to. He said, you can get more money out of him. And I go, you know what? I won't make my money in the big leagues. I'm not going to make it off this signing bonus. I said, I don't want to raise any waves. I don't want to be looked down upon as a bonus baby. I want to go play and start my journey to the big leagues. I'll make up for, this signing bonus, at the next level. So that's kind of where we decided to go down and pretty much sign for what the Braves wanted.
I don't know your answer to this, Chipper. I'm sure that you've probably answered a version of this question before. Would you have wanted Barry Bonds to be in your Hall of Fame class?
That's a good question. I have no problem whatsoever saying that Barry Bonds is the best baseball player I've ever seen don a uniform. I have no problem with that. I think he's a Hall of Famer, whether there's a cloud of suspicion or not. Part of me, says that if he gets into this class, that he's going to be the focus, and the rest of us are going to be forgotten about.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good way to look at that, Chipper. I like the honesty in that.
Done,
it's
Chipper.
not that I don't want him in because of the steroids staying. I just don't want him taking my day. Right. Vlad Guerrero was an expo. He could sit behind me.
Let him go in with Hector Martinez.
My day.
And that's no disrespect. I think we're all going to get our due before it's all said and done. No question about it. And I think before his time is up on the ballot, he and Roger both are going to get in because very rarely do you see. And I followed a couple of the ballot trackers this year. If you put one on, the other one's got to go as well. And if you don't vote for one, the other one's not going to get voted for, and vice versa. So it's it's tough because some of the best players of our era have this cloud over them, and it's very unfortunate because you're talking about some all timers. Barry Bonds obviously be considered one if not the best, one of the couple best players to ever play the game. You know, Clemens, one of the best pitchers of our era. I'm a little biased because I played with Maddox, but certainly have no problem putting him in the Hall either. You know, and some of the guys coming up here pretty soon, whether it's, you know, A-Rod or whoever. But yeah, it's that's a good question. I always get the tough questions when I come on this show. I gotta really brush up on my homework before I come on.
Hall of Famer Chipper Jones with us here on ESPN Radio. Since you received the news that you were going into the Hall of Fame, what's the call you've gotten that surprised you the most?
Oh, let's see. Man, that's a good one too. I gotta just getting. I think the bulk of how many people have reached out. I didn't know I had this many friends. To be honest with you, I've gotten probably 400 texts, and obviously I looked at Twitter a little bit this morning. And I got a tweet from Jeff Gordon, who's been a good friend of mine for a long time.
Did you cry, Chipper? Did you cry? Did anybody make you cry yesterday?
100%. I think it would have been fine if my mom and dad hadn't been there.
Right.
But, you know, just all these emotions, just, you know, when I got the call and obviously embraced my wife and whatnot, but when I turned around, I locked eyes with my dad, and he was standing across the room, and you could just see his eyes were swelling up, and I mean, at that point, it's like, you know, I'm like a, 2-year-old kid again.
I'm the best switch hitter, Dad. Go bleep yourself.
Go tell him right now, Chipper. Chipper, go tell him right now.
Thank you, Chipper, for being on with us. Congratulations. Really happy for you,
Thanks,
sir.
Guys.
All right, Chipper. Congratulations.